What's up, adventurers? My name is Xaurom Dragonheart, and I'm the Guildmaster here at the Academy. So one of the things that's really important about adventure in general is, well, our imagination, right? What do we imagine our adventure to become? How are we going to bring that imagination and transform it into action? And one of the things that I wanted to talk about today with that process of transforming imagination into action is by sharing a small story that I noticed this weekend when I was at Disney World. So I went to Hollywood Studio, and a lot of times when I go to Disney, I do it for inspiration purposes or to learn something or to see how one man was able to turn his imagination into basically a worldwide empire that makes millions and millions of people happy every single year. And one of the things that I realized is, as I was watching the Fantasmic show at Hollywood Studios in the evening, was that, with every act of imagination and every action that follows, there's something that happens behind the magic. And one of the things that we in the audience don't see, we don't see the work and the sacrifice that happened behind that production. We don't see the thousands or tens of thousands of employees who work together to make that magic possible. When you think of one show of Fantasmic, the fireworks, the lighting, the person who operates the animatronics, the person who dresses up as Mickey, all the artists who sang the songs that are used, the musicians who worked on the music, we see the end result. And then we ask ourselves, how is it possible that one man was able to start this? Well, the answer is that one man was the engine who lit the spark. But it wasn't him alone. He knew how to leverage the other pieces. He knew how to motivate. He knew how to lead. He knew how to inspire. And he knew how to manifest his creativity. And he was able to turn his imagination into actionable steps. And we're seeing the results now, decades later. And maybe for some of you, as it is for me, sometimes when I look at that, it's very motivational. But at the same time, it can be a bit discouraging because, well, you have to ask yourself, are you willing to, compete with that? Well, that's the wrong question. The wrong question is, do I want to compete with him? Do I want to compete with her? Do I want to have my dream be bigger, have my company be more successful, have more employees, whatever? That's the wrong question. The question is, what can you do today? Because with every adventure, there's a starting point, right? And if your starting point is right now, and you're just toying with your imagination, you're toying with the ideas that are showing up in your mind, then the first thing to do is take the smallest, tiniest step right now. And what's interesting about that philosophy is that it gets you going. And so the first step in turning imagination into action is to take action. It's that simple. So one of the things that you can do is, even if it's something very small, and we know this in psychology, for example, and I've read and I've listened to people who do this professionally, is you can start with something as easy as just thinking about what you could do. And that sounds really funny, but blocking out 5 minutes of your day to just think about what you want, think about what you want to do, actually develop your imagination is the first step. And then maybe you can come up with one simple step that you can take right now, today, to move that idea into one small action. Or maybe you could have a conversation with someone you trust, people who motivate you, people who are willing to invest some time with you to see how they can support you in your imagination. That's very key, because as we saw in the Disney example, it was one man who got another person, who then got another, who then got another, and then, he built this big company. And that's how it is, but it's one step at a time, one action per day. What's one step you can take today? What's one thing you can do to turn your imagination into action? Because that's how all adventures start. Doesn't matter what mistakes you make, doesn't matter if you're scared. Once you get going, it becomes harder and harder to stop. Once you take that first step, the next step will show up, the next step after that. that continuous motion, one step at a time. And before you know it, your imagination becomes your very own empire. You have skills that other people don't have. You have gifts that other people don't have. And maybe they're here. But if they're here, then that's where it'll stay until you take that first step, until you take that first action. And that's when things get interesting. That's when the magic happens. When you start to work a little bit, sacrifice a little bit, continue doing that, and keep following down that path. That's how imagination becomes action. Hope this video was of service to you. Keep adventuring forward, because your adventure is your own, and you are the protagonist in your own story. Don't forget that. Many blessings.